Welcome to Chris Strub Unmuted. I'm Chris Strub. Today we're talking with the man, Max Branstetter, about being Papa Max.
I woke up from the nap and I see a text from Dana, and she's like, "This is from, one of the directors at the daycare." And it was a video of Jamie walking for like the first time from daycare. And I'm just laying in bed, waking up from the nap, watching this video over and over again, and I just start bawling.
This is Chris Strub Unmuted, a show designed for open dialogue, honest reflection, and uncensored truths about the lives that we lead. Today's episode talks to my boy, Max Branstetter, without whom there would be no Chris Strub Unmuted. I have been looking forward to this episode, Max, for months. I've been looking forward to this episode for years. Max has finally shown up in the Zoom room. Max, first question for you. Mango Fuego or pink lemonade?
Mango Fuego, just because it almost rhymes.
Oh, Mango Fuego. We got the C4 fridge here. So, Max, as I crack open my first C4 of the day, and you know there's a special moment just for you, baby. I waited, okay? I want you to tell us who you are and explain your role with Chris Strub Unmuted. I mean, you have listened to every single episode and every unreleased episode of Chris Strub Unmuted, and you've heard a lot of the cuckoo craziness behind the brain powering Chris Strub Unmuted. It's an honor to have you on the show here in season 6.
Thank you. Well, it's an honor to be here. I wouldn't say cuckoo craziness. I would say, if anything, there's a lot of mango and there's a lot of fuego. So we'll phrase it that way. But I am Max Branstetter, as you so aptly said. We actually, Chris and I connected way back. We were connected. I started Wild Business Growth podcast in 2018. I was looking back. You were episode number 71 on Wild Business Growth, which was early December 2019.
That's wild.
And we just, to this day, we've never met in person, but we've stayed connected online and, talked about everything from beer to sports to whatever. And when I started Max Podcasting officially in summer 2020, it was probably somewhat a little bit after that, was reaching out to past guests and interested in getting referrals or like any sort of momentum to start the business. And we kept having conversations because you, Chris Strub, were like, I really want to start a podcast. I don't know what it's going to look like. And there were multiple iterations, as you've talked about in previous episodes of this. And, could go this route, could go this route. And then, finally over this past year, it kind of, we found the perfect mix of like, let's do it. Like, let's just do Chris Strub Unmuted. And here we are today. Anyway, call me a producer or editor. I help you get this off the ground. I do, especially on the audio editing, and shout out to our guy Jeff, who does especially the video editing as well. But it's an honor to
Yeah.
help you bring this to life.
Jeff gets a bonus sip of Mango Fuego. We love Jeff. We love Jeff.
Jeff's the man.
Max, listen, thank you for being the brawn behind Chris Strub Unmuted. You do amazing work with not just my podcast, not just your podcast, but lots of other podcasts. And anyone that is thinking of starting their own podcast, I could not possibly give a higher recommendation. It's one thing to say it out loud. It's another thing to actually be paying my invoices mostly on time to you over the last 6 months. But like, I actions speak louder than words. We're here. We're in season 6 of Chris Strub Unmuted. And I told you before we launched the show, of course, we're going to have Max on. You interviewed me 75 years ago before COVID hit. Just feels like a totally different world now. And Max, we talked a lot about how we're structuring the show and also trying to earn sponsorships with C4. I've had all my boys on so far this month. I don't know what number episode this will be, so we'll figure out that order. But everyone loves the C4, and this Mango Fuego is amazing. We've got the fridge here, so you've been really instrumental in helping push C4 to get on board. And I'm feeling fired up today, Max. I'm going on vacation tomorrow. I got a adjustment this morning. I got the New York Knicks playing in the NBA Finals tonight, and by the time this comes out, they will have either won or very dramatically lost. But you and I, of course, could talk for many, many hours about all sorts of different topics. This season, I wanted to talk to you specifically about what I think is probably the single most important topic on your mind every day, which is being a dad. And that's the theme of season 6 here, is being a dad. It was such joyous news to see and to hear from you when you became a dad for the first time a few years ago. So I want to hear that story. Tell me um, how this came to be. When did you and your wife decide that you wanted to be parents? How has fatherhood been? Just talk so I can chug some more C4.
Yeah, sure. This is I'll do a little father filibuster here so we can keep going for the entirety of that Mango Fuego, but appreciate it. I mean flattered and honored beyond words, and I mean, as you know, like our professional and personal relationship, has meant a ton to me. I know it means a lot to you as well. And one of the things that when you become a father, obviously you hear from so many people, congratulations, and so many people are supportive, and especially, fellow dads are uh, curious what your approach is, and kind of been there. And I would say that like you have been over the moon supportive and like genuinely interested in like, okay, what's Jamie up to today? Or like, how's everything going? How's your
Yeah.
life changed? And like, not just like the congrats, but like kind of going deeper beyond that. So that means a lot. So really surreal to talk about this, but yeah, we have a daughter, Jamie, who when the time this comes out, she'll be just about turning 16 months. So we're in, I don't know if you call it a sweet spot or if there's ever a sweet spot, but we're in the phase now where, she turned 1 a few months ago. She started walking recently. She's, babbling, quote unquote talking all the time. Like she's like a full on toddler now. And, we're fortunate that there's a great daycare nearby. So at least during the week, it's like Dana can go to work. I can actually get some work done at home. And then by the time she's back, it's like, wait, we have a toddler again and running all over our place. And obviously on the weekends, try to spend as much of that, as much of the day as possible with her. But it's all of the cliches are true as people say, it's like no matter how much you prepare and are excited to be a father, it's like you kind of hit in the face in the best way of everything, fatherhood throws at you. So that's
What
what we're
was
going
that?
through now.
What was the moment like when you guys found out that you were pregnant?
That it's really surreal actually, the timing of this, because this would have been we found out right before Father's Day
Oh
20
man.
2024. Is that what? Yeah, 2024.
Yeah.
And so obviously, people are like, how long do you wait to tell people? It's like, there's a wide range of things that can happen, especially in the early days of pregnancy. Like it's best to wait a little bit. But we knew, whatever happened, that our immediate family would want to know. So we ended up telling both sets of now grandparents the news on Father's Day. So we found out 2 days before that, which was basically a holy shit moment. It's like Dana did a couple of tests and was like, yep.
Yeah, you do one,
um,
you're like, oh my God.
yeah,
And you do
yeah.
another one. Yeah, right?
It wasn't a total surprise. Like it was in the plan, but you never know.
Yeah.
But when we FaceTimed each of the sets of grandparents on Father's Day, and now we FaceTime them all the time. Back then, we didn't really FaceTime them much. So like they're probably like,
Yeah.
what are they FaceTiming us for?
Yeah.
Um, Dana said, "Happy Father's Day and Happy Grandfather's Day."
Oh
And
my
so right
God.
away they're like, "What?
Oh my God.
What?" Yeah. And so we actually have recorded. I'll have to see if I can find it. We have video recordings of those moments, but what we didn't know at the time is iPhone, when you're doing a screen recording of a FaceTime, it doesn't record sound due to some privacy reason. So it's like you can see the grandparents going like
Yeah.
and freaking out like that, but there's no sound to it. So, and then we did, a little bit after that, we did the same sort of thing with my brother Andrew, and shout out Dana's brother Adam. So the two uncles there. It was just really, really special. I think it's overwhelming excitement excitement is the biggest emotion that comes with it.
Dude, this is what life is about, man. When I found out, I was so, so happy for you, and to me, running a podcast is and I put this off for years, and you have been lobbying me, gently Max style, for, check in every few months, like, hey,
The
is
gentle
this,
Max style. It's like a special style of cheeseburger right there.
yeah, dude, I
Scotty
mean,
style.
it sounds delicious. I'm getting hungry now too with this mango fuego. To me, life is about connecting with good people, Max. And this might be one of the first times I'm tearing up on Chris Strub Unmuted because that's a beautiful story to tell. And you, of course, are one of the best storytellers I know. I'm sure that your parents and your wife's parents were just blown away with emotion in that moment, kind of like I am now, because I hadn't heard that specific story of how you found out, and I'm so glad I asked. But um, this digital age that we live in, we're able to connect with people that feel like we're on the same wavelength with one another, even though I've never been able to give you a hug in person yet or anything like that, but I promise you we will make it happen.
Plenty of virtual hugs.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we have a lot of breweries to check off
my
together.
company is called I Am Here, and the fact that you and I have never broken bread or had a beer together or anything is pretty unbelievable. But look, we're business partners now, and I've told you since we excuse me, Jesus Christ, since we launched this podcast that I see big things for this show. I'm trying new things every month. You have been an unbelievable partner and supporter in the show and helping me think creatively, think outside the box. And you haven't seen some of the episodes yet in this season, but you'll see me really get deep into it with my dad and my uncle. And um, this is another one of those conversations that means a lot to me because without Max, there is no podcast at all. And without the podcast, this has been a really, and you've listened to every single episode. This has been a really helpful exercise for me this year, 2026, to talk about a lot of the things in life that I want to talk about. And this month in particular, I don't know how the stars are aligning or what, but I've been really open with you over the years that I want to be a father one day myself too. And you've been there, been really supportive. Text me, when I got Link back in November, and unfortunately she's not here to, cradle in my arms today as I'm going on vacation up to Canada tomorrow. But Max, I don't want to grandstand because this is your episode here. But I do want to again emphasize to anyone that is thinking about launching a podcast, start by booking a call with this dude here, Max Branstetter, and have that conversation. He not just knows what he's doing on the tech side and has all this great experience, but he's just as good a human being as you're going to find, right? So I cannot endorse your services anymore. But back to the more important business at hand, Max. Um, what is one thing that maybe I've asked this to all the dads that I've interviewed so far this season? What is one thing, and you don't have as much experience as some of the other dads. I mean, I've spoken to some empty nesters here. What is one thing that you wish you knew before becoming a dad that you know now?
Yeah, this is amateur hour here. You're throwing the rookie under the bus here. But
Yeah. You'll have to
one,
listen to the rest of the season to get the rest of the insights.
oh, I will. But
I,
and
you,
everyone else will.
you
That's
better.
yeah,
You better because I
yeah,
pay you to. Hopefully,
yeah,
everybody else will do. Yeah.
exactly. And by the way, thanks again for all the kind words and referrals and everything. That means a ton. Real quick, I just have to say that like my business, and then what's now my whole career in the podcasting space and business growth, which is 360 episodes now. Everything that's like open doors for me professionally and on the podcasting side, even starting a whole business and my full-time business now started by starting a podcast. So I'm super excited for you. Just I always say podcasting is like the best networking tool I've ever seen and one of the best, I guess, door opening things that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you what comes out of this and to be a part of it. But on the on the fatherhood front, I think so. Everybody tells you like, "Oh, wow, your life's about to change, and you are, you'll never sleep the same way again. You'll never kind of think things through the same way again." I think the what I didn't really know too much about beforehand was just, and I've talked about it before when asked this, but there's so many milestones along the way. And once you get into it, you're like, wow, every milestone is very rewarding, is very, emotional. Like you just did right there. Maybe I cried a little bit less, but no, I'm just kidding. They, there was like a couple months in a row where it seemed like Jamie was so close to walking. Like she'd be standing, she'd kind of like yell, and then maybe take one step and then fall to the ground. And so, Dana and I were like, when's this gonna happen? When she's kind of gonna get over the hump? And there's one day, there was like a Thursday, it was probably a month and a half ago, where I had taken a nap. I'm a big fan of naps. In the
Same.
afternoon after lunch. Yeah, you need
Yeah.
to. And I woke up from the nap and I see a text from Dana, and she's like, "This is from, one of the directors at the daycare." And it was a video of Jamie walking for like the first time from daycare. And I'm just laying in bed, waking up from the nap, watching this video over and over again, and I just start bawling. And I'm like, man. So that's the first thing that like really hit me emotionally. But I think what I didn't realize was like overall just like the unpredictability of it. So like you'll get like we got Jamie to the point that like wow, she sleeps really well. And the next thing you know, it's like literally a month where 25 of those 30 days she woke up in the middle of the night and was up for like an hour and a half or 2 hours. So it's like there's just no stability there. And then you'll think she's eating incredibly well and she's a great eater. And I just posted a video of her eating watermelon at our little pool party here where we live, which is great. And then there's some days where she literally doesn't want to eat anything and she just wants to throw the food on the ground or like, she only wants to eat her fruit, doesn't want to eat, her proteins at all. So I think there's just so much like there's always something like just when you think like, all right, we're great, things are much easier now, there's always something and you never know what curveballs can throw at you. So I wasn't really prepared from that standpoint.
Man. Um, Max, I'm so happy for you, man. I can't even like process the emotions in my mind, that like I hate to go back and repeat what I said before, but this is what life is about, you know? And I tried to come up with a series of like a themes for these different seasons. And when we talked about this in October, November, December of last year, you're like, I don't know, like we should be consistent and post once a week. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We're gonna do this differently. Like I want to drop 8 episodes in one day and just pow, just hit you with it, right? And it feels like what you're saying is, fatherhood is kind of like that too. Like these moments just kind of come at you, and you don't know when and where, or even what it's going to be about. And the fun part about this conversation, and your daughter is I think the youngest of the kids of the dads that I'm talking to for um, this entire season here. So I can't wait to hear. Like, I wish I could do another episode with you like next week where you have heard all of the advice from all of these other dads. So, what's it like? I mean, are you learning from other parents as you go? Are you learning from your own parents? Like, do you feel like you're continuing to absorb knowledge? Did you feel prepared when you found out that this was happening? And like, how is that learning process continuing for you as you're dealing with a 15, almost 60? And I love counting. I love the fact that you're still counting the age in months, right? That's what I'm doing with Link now. Like she's 9.5 months, right? So how do you continue to commit to learn and commit to continuing to be, excuse me, a better dad as the months go by?
And on the month's note, Dana and I were just debating about that because that somebody was she had met somebody and they were talking about their kid and they were like and she was like how old and then they said like a year 10 months which I guess is 22 months and we're just like when is the cut right now 16 months still feels like a okay you can say months but maybe it's after a year and a half like
Yeah.
once you have to think about how many months equivalates is a year that's where you have to
Well,
I think about it there.
I'm about 489 months. So that's
That's incredible math. I cannot think on my feet quick enough to know if that's legit math or not, but that's great. Happy, we got a big milestone
fourth.
coming up. So anyway, was I prepared? I was prepared from the standpoint of I think Dana and I are lucky that we both grew up and have incredible sets of parents, dad, mom, on both sides. And when early on when Dana and I started dating, I don't think I said this to her, but I had thought of like, wow, like whenever we have kids, like they're gonna have the best grandparents, and like so we're so lucky from that standpoint. So I think it's when you have parents like I know you do, who are incredible parents and role models and friends and whatever you want to call it. I think that's like the best, you know, 18 to 20 to 30 year crash course in parenting because you see how they do it. So I think that's by hands down is the best way to prepare. Still, they, you know, were parenting all of us kids in the early days, you know, over 30 years ago now. So like things changed. A lot of them, you know, we've heard this from, you know, aunts and uncles as well. It's like, I guess, you know, once a couple or a few decades go by, like you really don't remember the early days that well. Like you remember the moments, but you don't remember the daily of waking up every night and like, you know, or breastfeeding and like all that sort of stuff. Um, so now I mean, they obviously want to see Jamie as much as possible. They're right now, as we're recording this, we're in between Dana's parents visiting and my parents visiting. So it's like they come, you know, they make extra trips
Yeah.
to do it as much as possible. But now they spend as much time with her. It sounds like being a grandparent is the best job in the world because you get to spend time with your grandkids, but obviously you don't have the 24/7, you know, everything that the tough parts that come with parenting. But I think learned a ton from them. They're super supportive and super helpful to this day. I'm not someone who's like in a bunch of like dad groups on, you know, social media or like email newsletters or stuff like that. But whenever I talk to someone who's a dad of young kids, and especially now, you know, Jamie's a girl. They're, you know, ever since, you know, I feel like when Kobe died, it made that girl dad
Yeah.
phrase so
Hmm.
much
Yep.
more popular. There's total badge of honor of being a girl dad, and so I'm lucky. Whereas a lot of my close friends, those who have kids, almost all of them have a girl, or at least a girl is one of them, and so there's a special bond there. And so you know we talk about stuff from that regard. And I think when you're in person or when catching up with old friends, you talk about things like that. Or when you meet someone new, it's an instant like, oh, cool, like you're a girl dad too, or like you're a dad of young kids too. So you learn a lot that way. But I'm not someone who like prints out a bunch of things and it's that was the throwback there. Prints out a bunch of things or like has a journal or anything like that of like this is how we should do this. This is how we should do this. I think you learn and adjust pretty early on and frequently as you do it.
Two-part question. I'm going to set you up here. Okay. In your years of podcasting, roughly, don't need an exact number, roughly how many podcasts have you produced for other people over mine, yours, and then what? Dozens of others? Like
Yeah. So podcast. So I think overall podcasts that we've worked on is around 50, like individual
50.
like overall podcasts.
Yeah.
Episodes is like in the thousands. I did the math. Like, I mean, I've personally edited, and now I have Jeff and you know team helping me out. But like, I've personally edited over 2,000 episodes. That's probably way more up there now. So
So
there's
50,
thousands of episodes. So yeah, so you get the 10,000 hours thing, and you get it's a yes. Sorry,
so
go
two-part
on.
question.
There's more to this question.
50-ish shows, thousands of episodes. You've had a lot of creative conversations with your business partners, your clients. If your coming up on 16-month-old daughter started a podcast tomorrow, what would it be called?
Uh-oh.
I
Just because it's her favorite word.
want
It would be
I
called
want
Uh-oh, and it would be each episode, which we'll have to talk to her about release frequency and all that. She might have some creative pushback there,
yeah.
but she each episode would be about the thing that she dropped on the ground today.
So 15 years from now, your daughter's going to be 16. I want to take that clip and on TikTok 4.0 or whatever the
Oh
kids
my
are
God. I
watching,
can't even imagine what the platforms will be like those
the
days.
holograms that we're watching in 2040, if the earth is still spinning. We'll play that clip back for your daughter. And, 16, 17, that might be a good age for her to actually start her own podcast with her, the gray haired dad, Max, you know,
I'm sorry. You probably can't see it unless you really, really zoom in, but there's one here that I have one gray one up front that's coming.
oh,
It's yeah.
dude.
I also feel like I saw my first gray hair like the weekend that we found out that Dana was pregnant. So I swear there's something behind the scenes there that is just like, yep, get into dad mode.
the empty nester dads that are in this season with you, Max, are like, oh, this son of a gun, you know, and Matt and Dan and Vincent. So, Max, I want to respect your time because I know it's after 11 here. I want to say thank you for finally being a guest on Chris Strub Unmuted. We should play us out with like a John Mayer song. I mean, that would really, I think, I got to tell this story real quick.
I
I'm
think so, yeah.
texting Max. I'm texting Max in like September, knowing that we're going to launch the show in January. And I swear to God, I emailed Max and asked him, hey, what would it cost for me to license the song Say by John Mayer? Because I'm like, I love that song. I love the lyrics. I know Max likes it too. It's a good song. Say what you need to say. I can only sing so much of it before we start to get charged,
I think
right?
we could take a few minutes for you to sing this whole thing here. That would be
Yeah.
great.
You don't think we'd get hit with a podcast or a copyright strike?
I think you could sing it. I'm not a podcast lawyer. I can research that stuff, but I think it's more about you can't play the actual song. I don't know what the rules are on covers,
It
but
turns
anyway.
out it turns out it's a lot of money, Max. It was but this is the sort of legwork that Max Branstetter helped put in before we got Chris Strub unmuted off the ground. Max, you are one of my favorite people. I love talking to you. I love listening to your show. I love, being a client of yours has just been a privilege. And just as your daughter is getting her legs under her here and starting to walk, that's kind of how I feel here with this show is I don't really know what I'm doing. I hit record and then I go, uh-oh. Like, what happens now? I don't send guest questions. I don't really truly prepare, but that's kind of what the Chris Strub experience kind of has always been, right? Is we live and we learn and we grow off of this energy. And I really cannot say thank you enough for your support of the show, your enthusiasm about it. And I'm not kidding that I want to bring the show to new heights and new levels. And, you have been a massive, massive part of that. So, um, C4 cheers to you, my friend. How are we going to wrap this thing up?
C4 cheers to you as well. Well, I just got to say, thank you so much for you've been very vocal about how even when you had no idea what your podcast would look like, you've told me multiple times in our calls, we'd probably talk 2 or 3 times a year about, potential podcast planning, potential. I feel like I'm in Wayne's World or something. And you'd be like, I don't know when I'm starting a podcast or what it's going to be about, but I know Max is my podcast guy. Like I know I'm going to
That's it.
do it with you and you're going to help me get off the ground there. And so I'm forever grateful for your, obviously tons has gone on in the world since then, tons have gone on in your personal life, professional life. Like somehow in your mind, I've remained a constant and a great contact and friend and asset from the podcast standpoint. And so I'm forever grateful for that. I can't wait to see where the show goes next. I'm incredibly honored that you've had me on here. And I'll just say for those viewers, listeners of Chris Strub Unmuted, if you're new, if this is the first episode that you're watching or listening to, go back and check out the earlier seasons, like season 1 through 5. Chris, to your credit, you gave so much creative pushback when we were talking about episode format and frequency and stuff of just like, hey, I want to do something different. Let's do these kind of Netflix style drops once a month. And as a listener or a viewer, you get treated to the things that Chris is most passionate about in his life at the time, some of the, different chapters of his life that he's looking back on or some newer things. And each season has like a totally different flavor to it, but still that Chris Strub unmuted vulnerability and rawness. And so as just a fan of the show looking back, like it is so cool how you're dropping something new every single month. And there's something to be inspired by. There's stuff that you can relate to. There's stuff to learn about. I'm geeking out now about I'm like, High Rocks just as like a business model, unbelievable case study there. And you did a whole season on that from
That
every
was a
single
cool
angle.
season.
Yeah,
Season
really,
four.
really cool. So anyway,
Season four was
go
cool.
check out all those seasons.
Season
Strub is the man. Team Strub. I'm officially Team Strub.
My man, Max. Season 2 was fun too about love, and I think where we
Yeah, love
really
it.
hit our stride together, Max, is when these thematic sort of bundles arrive. Not to tie it back to this idea of becoming a father, but really when when you can tie together a lot of different conversations around one theme, that's been my idea since the beginning is like, how can we talk about something that is really timely and meaningful? And we could talk again for hours about the importance of men's mental health. And I restarted therapy in June here, like I got private conversations going on too, but I've really found a lot of value in being able to share and be vulnerable with my audience. And we're just getting started, Max. So thank you for listening to Chris Strub Unmuted. Support the show by clicking like and subscribe. Keep up with me on social media at Chris Strub. Max, where can they find your podcast, which is incredible and coming up on that 365th episode? That's a cool number too. 365 will be nice.
Thank you. Yeah,
You
there's a
know,
lot of I don't know. Numbers are fascinating in itself. So there's like once you keep doing it, they're like, oh, we could do something special for this or something
but if
special for
I
this.
if I keep
But it's
doing 10 episodes a month like this, I'm gonna catch you soon. I told
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. You
I
will.
told
You
you
will.
I'm gonna get to 100. I'm gonna get to 100 quick,
You
right?
got
Like
the you
that's
got the batch release down. It's
yeah.
boom. You're gonna we got like a tortoise and hare situation here, but my vote
I'm
is on the
coming for you.
hare in this situation. Anyway,
Uh-oh.
it's called so my podcast production business, which you so kindly shouted out, is called Max Podcasting. You can find everything about there and about the business, about Wild Business Growth, which is my podcast, about the Podcasting to the Max newsletter, which combines entrepreneurship and podcasting and puns, dad jokes, perfect for dad joke loving people or cringing people. All of that is at maxpodcasting.com. So that's the place to go. You can find all of from there.
Give
Obviously,
my
social media from there too.
give my audience one episode that you think fits best. I got one in mind, but what's the one episode of your show that if someone wanted to get started with your show? This is a question I like to answer about my show too, and I've only got 25 episodes. So for you, you've got hundreds and hundreds. You've listened to every episode of Chris Strub Unmuted. Someone's listening to my show. I want them to come listen to an episode of your show. Pick one. Tell them you don't need to know the number, but who's the guest that resonated the best?
It's a no-brainer because I know we've talked about this episode a lot. Scott Hansen of
Yeah,
NFL
yeah,
Red
yeah.
Zone.
Yeah, that's the
Yep,
one. Yeah.
Scott Hansen of NFL Red Zone. This is, I mean, I think now he's like a big name as Red Zone is continuing to grow. But back
Yeah.
then, he was still like, I mean, I had to literally like email somebody at the NFL, and like this was years of trying to set this up. He was so kind with his time. Short and sweet episode, less than half an hour. Don't remember the number. I used to be good with that, but he was so generous with his time, and he just has an incredible like. How does somebody be the guy that does literally the 7 8 hours of commercial free football formerly, um, and hosting that and how he holds his bladder in and all this stuff is fascinating. So search Scott Hansen, and then I'll just have to say on the note of family here, something that I obviously family is very valuable. Something's one of the most important things for me too. I every Thanksgiving I do a Thanksgiving special and I interview someone in the family. And sometimes it's just family, like in general on a personal level. Like I interviewed my brother who's works in ER doctor. Um, and then sometimes it's people with a family business. There's lots of family businesses in my family, and that's always my favorite episode of the year because, like you're saying, talking to your parents, like what's cooler than having these conversations that you normally wouldn't be able to just be like, hey, let's just talk about, your origin story for half an hour, stuff like that. Like, so the
Yeah.
Thanksgiving specials are always a real treat.
I remember, and now I'm interrupting my own sign off here, Max, but I remember
Yeah,
a
I'm
couple of years
terrible at
ago
signing off here.
sitting with my dad looking at, your ancestry. You do this DNA test where they take a, swab from your cheek or whatever, and they bring up your whole family tree. And I remember thinking, Max, boy, I would do anything to be able to hear the voice of like my great grandfather or my great grandfather, right? When you look up and up that tree, you're like, God, what I wouldn't do just to know a tiny bit more about your life and what life was like then. And to have a podcast like this and whatever the fees are to keep this podcast up forever, that's what we're doing. Like I'm gonna put it in my will, if I die someday, hopefully long in the future, because I want, if I'm lucky enough to be a father someday, I want my kids and their kids and their kids to come back and listen to an episode like this, where we can really dig into why, who we are as human beings. And that to me, Max, has been what's been most valuable to me is getting to know you as a human, through your voice and also through your incredible work. So
Back at you. Hey, I
check,
have I have one more special. You just made me
bring it
think of
on. Yeah.
one more Father's Day.
I pay Max by the minute though, so we're
Super.
I'm
You,
just kidding.
yeah, Chris pays me by the syllable. No, Father's Day special note to end on here. You just, reminded me how,
Yeah,
I mean, that's a whole other area of podcasting that I think is one of the coolest things out there is there's something called posterity podcasts where people will create podcasts for honor somebody that, passed away in their family and just really for the purposes of their family going back and listening to like, what was grandpa like? What was great grandpa like? What was grandma like? Like,
yeah,
and so I just have to shout out, not my podcast, but one of my dad's podcasts called Forever Fred, because my grandpa Fred, his dad, my dad's dad, uh, my dad recorded this podcast called Forever Fred like a little bit before my grandpa Fred passed away. And it's out there. You can go check it out, even if you have no idea who he is or who my dad is. I think anyone would really enjoy it, or it might inspire you to start something like that of your own for honor somebody else in your family, because obviously, he was about to pass away, and my grandpa's about to pass away, and my dad had so much emotion and so many stories that he wanted to share and get out of his head, and so me and Jamie and future generations can learn who Fred was and his wife Barb, my grandma, and all that sort of thing. So check out Forever Fred as well. I think it's a it's really special to memorialize or eternalize those who you love. And so your comment there just made me say that again. And then I will stop talking because you do pay me by the syllable. So.
Forever Fred. I love it, Max. Remember, we are all famous to a few people. Cheers.